I didn't get the name of the gentleman from the SABC.
My name is
Sintebu. Tebu, thank you very much. Let me address the issue about civic education, Tebu, because it's very important, and I will juxtapose it with other, state organs that we think that should be playing a role. And I've put to you that it's important that all what we call South Africa runs what it calls participatory democracy, and it has formed institutions that must somehow ensure that citizens become active citizens on the basis of these particular principles of participatory democracy. And that is why I'm putting squarely the question on the IESS Chapter 9 institution that has been created to run this particular process, but alongside other, institutions that are enhancing participatory democracy, meaning the participation of citizens in the making of legislation, law, and decision making, as you know it. Now, civic education allows a situation where it teaches citizens of the country that it is their civic duty to participate in these particular structures, including the issue of electoral process. Because if it's not done, you will have these 13 million people eligible to be voters, not knowing others, whether it's important, it's part of their right, and it's part of a very important decision to participate in these particular forums that are created for them. And they just neglect it and think it's a duty of politicians. That's what they say. Now, these are the questions we need to resolve, because unless we teach them civic education from basic education, it must be part of the schooling system. That's why we say history, like civic education, should be embedded in the education system of each and every nation state. Because if it is not, you will have these kind of citizens who think that they just live in a territorial boundary called their own country and not understanding their civic duty in that particular country. Actually, in other countries, you get to be jailed and fined for not participating in the elections. So these are the things that we need to teach South Africans, because there is some laissez-faire approach in the citizens of our country. And to a certain degree, we blame ourselves for not running what we call massive political education or popular education, and ensuring that as a liberation movement, people understand, because it is the ANC that has always been teaching people about their basic human rights, their economic rights, their constitutional rights, and so on. And we're saying, let's correct these. And the Youth League and other formations, democratic formations, the mass democratic formations, must begin to come back and teach the citizens of our country this very important, civic duty that they must participate in these different fora. So that's why whether you put one institution against the other, it won't help. The IEC must be at the center of this, because it must register. Home Affairs must have people with IDs. Local municipalities, which is the local state, must ensure that people have got addresses, because now you can no longer vote unless you have your own address from your own local municipality or a chief and so on. And all of them, they must work in a joint operations to ensure that citizens understand these particular implications. There were people that were turning in voting stations because they are used that in the national and provincial general elections, they can vote anywhere, in a province, if they're in that particular province. But this time around, they were told to go to your voting district. And these are things that we said must be taught so that our people understand. And I'm saying citizens of this country understand. Now, how do we arrest the electoral decline that we have since witnessed since 2009? I can tell you of the ANC. The program of organizational renewal in the ANC seeks to resolve those particular issues. The internal conflicts, which are called factions and all of that, that have caused the splinter group called the COPE. Post-COPE, it was EFF in 2013, and all of that. All of these are internal challenges, and organizational renewal seeks to resolve these internal challenges that are causing this kind of decline in the ANC. But there are fundamentals that we say, much as we have our own internal weaknesses, which we are resolving, and we've been resolving them, and that's why at some point there were task teams in other formations that makes the ANC. There was a task team of the Youth League, Women's League, a task team, Veterans League, a task team, and all, you know. Now, if you have your own organizations, task teams, you can't run a machinery that is very strong. That's what the point the president was making about. Now, the renewal process is on course. We have got fully fledged National Executive Committee of the Veterans League, of the Women's League, of the Youth League, after 8 years. And that tells you that there was no formations organizing these sections of society, you know, on their own, you know, interest and aspirations. Young people have got to have a body called the National Executive Committee in order for it to champion its own interests, I mean, youth interests. And without it, you will have young people, moving away from the ANC because they have no formation that represents their views. And now their formation is back. And that's why a media briefing is packed like this. And that's why stadiums have been packed, because young people are now beginning to find traction to the ANC because the Youth League is back. Now, we are arresting these declines, both internal and external. And at the external level, I can assure you, I mean, there was an interview that the president did, and he said if the ANC can implement all its resolutions as they are, there will be no opposition to the ANC. What are those decisions? These are questions that young people are battling with. They don't want, that's why they say people don't eat what is in their minds, ideas. People want material things, things that make their lives to improve. That's what people want. And we are saying, you deal with the economic question in South Africa. You deal with the economic question, the land question, the issue that our people are landless, and therefore we need to settle them properly, that they must feel being part of this country on the basis of resolving this land question. You see? On the basis that you resolve this, the base, which is the economy, that they must participate. 80% of the South African economy is owned, controlled, managed by a few minority in this country who are white in the main. And we must resolve this. We must de-racialize the South African economy. That's what we're saying. Because unless people participate, the majority who are black participate in the economy, they will not be able to see the democratic dispensation working for them. You see? Unless young people work and we say industrialize the South African economy, they will not see the need to participate in the democratic dispensation. And we've resolved those questions by making these policy proposals. And that's why we're saying we're not reneging on them. Thanks, President.
Yeah, thank you very much, SG. I think we must organize more lectures because airtime is expensive. Yeah, no, thanks. I think the statement of intent, it is not a secret document. When it gets finalized, when all parties, you see the PAC came in now, other parties are coming in, others were delaying. We're waiting for everyone because the doors are still open to come in. When that is done, look, society must know what where the country is going, what is the plan, why is this government of national unity. Now that document will be out. It's not a secret document. It's a document that after it's well polished, when all parties have came in, submitted the agreements, then all of you will have time to see the document, and the whole of South Africa will have access to that document. And you see, just to make an emphasis on questions that you must ask yourself, because you've been asking us questions. Maybe we must ask you questions when you find time. That these political parties that are saying that they are ANC or they're closer to the ANC, they believe in the NTR of the ANC. Why did they leave the ANC? The PAC left the ANC, COPE left the ANC, EFF left the ANC, the new MK left the ANC. All of these political parties have been taking the base away from the base of the ANC. Now the question you must ask yourself when you find time that why do they say that they are ANC but they have left the ANC? Now that is a question that you must make time to engage on. Thanks.